Hi, welcome back to Headbangers Ball. We are making Kisstory, an entire 2.5 edition of the show dedicated to Kiss. And right now I'm joined by the band, and welcome to all of you.
All right.
And
all right. It's nice to see you, mate.
Yeah,
it's all right.
It's
quite
dodgy.
nice. Here I am with my fingers to the bell all day.
Yeah, it's a
and
bit
a
dodgy.
special welcome to new drummer Eric Singer. There he is. Now, I should point out we're actually on location at a video shoot, and we will be back to the Kiss convention a little later on. And we've got plenty of time to talk. We're going to talk about the tour and, of course, Revenge. But as the album is dedicated to Eric Carr, I'd like to start off talking a little bit about Eric. Did you feel torn between kind of grieving in public and sharing sort of your grief with the kind of fans and the press around the world?
I don't know. I think, you know, how you grieve and your pain is your business. And I don't think that you become more genuine or you justify anything by, you know, by mourning in public. Certainly it was our nightmare. And if it affected the fans, which it did because Eric was such a fabulous person, you can imagine what it did to us. It was a nightmare, and I think that we're doing the best thing we can for Eric, other than remembering him and dedicating an album to him and having a song which he wrote and features a drum solo. Other than that, we're doing Kiss Proud, which does Eric proud. I think he'd be thrilled with the way this album has turned out. It's we couldn't have done this album without the 11 years that he put into it.
Absolutely. Okay. The drill in the background there. Did Eric's death somehow cause you to reappraise what Kiss was all about?
I think that would be doing Eric Carr's death a disservice.
It obviously had an effect on you personally and emotionally.
You know, he was as close as you can get to having a brother in the band, but to say that because of Eric Carr's death, the band somehow had a different point of view, I don't think that's fair. I think the band all of a sudden went into overdrive when we were on the last Hot in the Shade tour in America, and all of a sudden newfound energy. But Eric Carr's death was tragic, and you know, we've been through this a lot, so if we sound a little sort of iffy talking about it, it's because, you know, we're drained
Absolutely.
by it.
Well, I can understand that. And you mentioned just now about the Eric Carr solo that's on the album. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? How did you find that? Perhaps Bruce?
That was cool. Bob Ezrin, our producer on this record, he was back in Toronto going through the vaults. Apparently, he worked on The Elder, which was the first record Eric Carr was involved in. Found a track that never quite made it, no lyrics or vocals were ever put on it. And it had guitars on it already, but we wanted to update it, so I got a chance to put some solos on it. And the thing that was kind of eerie about it was you hear Eric count it off, you know, so it was like he was a part of the record there, even though it was like a ghost, you know. And I just know personally for myself, it makes me hungry to want to play guitar. Every day I'm alive, and this band is vital and doing what we love to do, play rock and roll. I'm going to enjoy it and make it valuable. So that's what's come out of it for me personally, out of that tragedy.
Now, Eric's last contribution, I think as you mentioned, was God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too. Will that always be a particularly special song to Kiss?
I think it's a very special song for us because it was a massive hit in the UK. Eric Carr didn't get a chance to really contribute musically to that. That was Eric Singer's first time in the studio with us. Eric flew in like a trooper, maybe 2 weeks after open heart surgery to remove a tumor. And although, you know, he was in no shape, he wanted very much to sing and sang the middle section with us. And that's the kind of guy he was.
Okay. And what's your fondest memory of Eric?
11 years of a great guy who was very funny and gave absolutely everything to his fans and felt that we couldn't do enough and he couldn't do enough, and was also a very funny and positive guy. What else can you say?
Okay.
This is all getting a little bit too
morbid,
sort of morbid.
Absolutely. Well,
because the truth is that when we think about Eric, it's an up feeling. The fact that Eric was with us for 11 years.
We reminisce about Eric.
Yeah, we joke around about it. It's not like, I mean, God or the laws of nature or whatever did what they had to do, or whatever happened, and it's in the past. For us, they're happy memories. So when we talk about it, we joke around about it.
I mean, once in a while you go, I can't believe he's dead, but at the same time, most of the talk is, wow, remember when he did this, or remember how he used to do this? It's good stuff. So, to turn this into like this somber kind of affair is a real bummer. I mean, as far as I think we're concerned.
Well,
he was a great guy and wouldn't want us to be standing around here, sobbing or anything. It's unlike him and unlike us.
He'd want us to know the humor that he brought us. He was always a prankster, very funny.
Well, thank you for talking so candidly about that. I appreciate it. I know the kids out in Europe appreciate it too. And we're going to see some music now on Headbangers Ball. Rather appropriately, we're going to see God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too, and we're going to dedicate this to Eric. Kiss are still with me on this special edition of Headbangers Ball, and we're going to talk some more. And I just wondered, how did you go about finding a replacement for Eric?
He was in the mailbox.
I'm small enough and I fit. Paul has this really big mailbox in front of his house.
I opened up the mailbox and he went, hey.
I went, hi.
We knew Eric for a long time. Actually, I did a small solo club tour in, I think, what was it, 89?
Yes.
And I asked around, I said, who's like the best drummer around, who's available? And Eric's name kept coming up, and he played with Gary Moore and he played with Sabbath at one point. One of the Sabbaths, whichever Sabbath it was. And he's kind of like the hired gun that everybody likes to play with. And when I played with him on tour, he was fabulous. So he kind of became like a member of the inner circle of scum, which is, what our friends are. And then when things started to get, very, very tenuous, and Eric Carr got ill, we called Eric up and said, are you available to come in and help us out? And obviously he came in as a temporary and played his bollocks off, played his ass off, and did a great job on the album, and only did it, as a temporary, but played as though, it meant everything. And obviously when Eric Carr passed away, and when Eric Carr did pass away, he was a full member of the band. We spoke to Eric about joining, and it made the most sense.
Okay. How did you think Eric's style differs to Eric Carr's?
I think we should probably stop talking for a second. And how would you describe your style a little bit?
Well, I've got a question for Eric in a minute, actually.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Do it my way.
Do it my way. Women rule, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
We're all
they do.
And men bow.
And we do bow. Our knees buckle, don't they? Eric, saying your style can be best described as kick, big snare. For every girl that wants to lose a couple of pounds, just set Eric up in your living room. And he'll shake it right off you.
Because he's a stud.
Because he is a
puppet.
studly.
No, he's
Junior pimp.
yeah, junior pimp.
Now, Eric, what do you think you've brought to the Kiss equation?
Well,
E equals MC squared.
I buy a lot of cookies for Gene, and I contribute very much to his dessert. Now, I don't know. I think one thing is I felt that I had a lot of experience, which was probably at this time kind of crucial to them. But more importantly, they knew me, and I know it's the most important thing in a band is chemistry. To have and for people to feel at ease. And I think I probably brought that to the situation, some stability at a very difficult time. And it was very awkward for me coming in at that kind of situation. But I'm trying to be positive, make the most of it, And so far, everything's been going, fantastic.
Famously, incredibly.
Yeah.
You know what he brings, though? He's into guitars. That's why he's my pal.
He's got nice hair as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good color.
He's not just a drummer. He loves guitars. So he's my pal, like I said.
Was it important for you that the fans realised that Revenge was a band effort?
Very much so. I mean, sometimes in the past there's been times where one person did a lion's share of the work, or two people did the work, or three people, and somehow at other times the band gets sold short because of it, because people may say, oh, well, the band it's not really a band, or this one didn't do anything, or this one's writing corny songs, or whatever the case may be. But very much what makes Revenge such a great album, and the reason it's doing so phenomenally well, is because there's four people who did a tremendous job. I mean, from the time we started writing songs, we must have done about 50 songs, thrown most of them out, rewrote them, went into rehearsal, everybody came up with their parts, then scrapped them. You know, it was a process that took quite a while. And it's something that could only be this good because 4 people did it. It's absolutely a band album. It's Kiss.
I mean, it's ironic, I mean, if I can interject, even though at the time when I was recording with them, I was only, you know, filling in to help out, but I felt a real part of it. Even if all I would have done was just played on the record, I would have still felt like a big part of me was there, because there was a lot of commitment and energy put in by everybody. I mean, not even just the band, but I mean, even all the engineers that worked on the record and the producer, everybody really, you know, put a lot of heart and soul into it, and I think it shows.
Absolutely, and also really carrying on from that, you've recently done a club tour in the States, which I know you did for the fans, and perhaps on this album, you seem to maybe have the attitude that you're doing it far more for yourselves and without any sort of outside pressures and, you know, people saying you've got to write a hit single or...
You know, it's a lot more, people think about it a lot more than we did. We were pretty selfish, actually. We just didn't want to wait until August to start touring. And the record company started thinking about doing these playbacks to play back the record to radio stations and interviewers and so on. And we just said, hell with that. We don't want to sit around with some stiff-necked geek sitting in front of us who could care less about the band. You know who you are. We care much more about our fans. So we decided to take the music to our fans, and the club shows were much more like playing the new stuff and some of the older stuff to our fans, to our friends. I mean, this is family for us. And the club tour was just a chance for us to do a couple of things, to have Eric play some of the new stuff, some of the old stuff, and to play the new album to our fans, and just to gear up. And the real tour isn't still going to start. It kicks off in America July the 31st.
August 31st is what he just said.
August 31st. That's right.
Flash. The Kiss tour in the States has been delayed 1 month, but that's okay because it gives us a little more chance to make sure that the stage is everything it should be. Because everybody over here is getting knocked out by the show that we have here, and when in truth the new show makes this look like an intimate evening with Kiss. So we're real excited, and obviously we're doing this for ourselves and our fans. But when we please ourselves, we please our fans. And maybe for a while we didn't have the pedal down quite all the way, but we got it floored now, and if you're in the way, you get run over.
Okay. Well, we'll talk some more about the tour a little later on, but coming up now, we're going to see the debut video from Revenge. I think this shook a few people up, actually.
Yes, this is the ballad. This is Unholy. Hold on tight.
Kiss are taking revenge on Headbangers Ball, and we're going to talk some more about the new album. Now, maybe ask this to Gene. How do you think Revenge updates Kiss for the 90s?
I think it basically sets down the rules. It's almost our manifesto. No more paying attention to radio stations, no more paying attention to radio stations, no more paying attention to radio stations. We could really give two shits. And the most important thing is we figured out that we've got to stay true to ourselves. So in a lot of ways, this is like a first album all over again.
Mm-hmm. And it's perhaps the heaviest Kiss record for 10 years.
Absolutely. It's everybody did their best to make sure that this could, how would you say, curdle milk, you know, make cottage cheese of the air. It's about as heavy as it gets, you know. And plus it's good stuff, you know. I mean, there's no trick to making a heavy album. I mean, anybody can do that. Making a good album is a whole nother thing. I mean, sometimes you hear bands saying, oh, this is our heaviest, we've gone back to doing what we do, and the music still sucks. You know, there's good tunes, really great tunes, great playing. That's what makes Revenge really great. Not that it's heavy. I mean, that word's boring, you know.
It just seems to me that Kiss have been at the forefront of musical styles for many years. I mean, how do you do it? Have you got a crystal ball or something?
I think when we're at our best, we're following our intuition. You know, we do what we like to do. You can always try to jump on the bandwagon, but that means you're following somebody.
Exactly.
You're not leading a parade. You wind up trying to see where someone else is going. So, I mean, when we do that, I mean, we jump off real quick if we suddenly go, wait a minute, this is not true. This isn't who we are. So, I mean, anything good comes around again, and we can survive. If a bad year for us is selling 1 million albums, we'll take the bad years too.
I think there's another thing you've got to do to yourself every once in a while, and that's really be brutal with yourself. You've got to reassess who you are, what you want to do, what you're in this for, and some of us more than others. And you've got to do some soul searching and figure out if you really want to do this. And if you want to do it, you should do it all the way.
100%.
100%.
Perhaps I could bring Bruce in here. Could you tell us a little bit about how Bob Ezrin brought out the best in Kiss for Revenge?
Oh, well, he tortured me. That was one way. He made me feel like I didn't know how to tune a guitar, no less be able to play it. But that was the process to go through. It was like, we don't want you to think about what you're going to play. We want you to feel it, and from the lower extremities of your body. So it was really an opportunity for me to...
Sock your balls.
Yeah, exactly. People were saying, hey, Bruce, you changed your style. I don't know, I think just the best of my style came out, and the fact that it's a great role. It's like, if I was an actor, it's the role of a lifetime for me, and a lot of it has to do with the focus of the band and Bob Ezrin torturing me. That's really
and he's one of the people that contributed some songwriting as well.
Oh,
Could you tell us a little bit about some of the songwriting collaborations?
There weren't that many songwriting collaborations. We tried not to get involved this time with Guns for Hire. There are songwriters out there that are really good, but at this point, if you can't write your own song or do it with some mates and do it with the people who count, then maybe it's time to pack it in. So we kept it to a very small circle of people. Ezrin was one of them, a couple of outside people. Vinnie Vincent from Days Gone By was involved, and now he's gone back to Days Gone By. But, we did whatever we had to make the greatest album we could. We weren't concerned with, who was involved as much as, is it going to make a great, true Kiss album? And, that's basically what we did. I think we stayed real close to the bone, so to speak. The people who were involved are friends, except one.
A lot of people have written in and asked me to ask you what happened to the song that I think it was Paul co-wrote with Dave the Snake from Skid Row.
It's in the, how should we put it? It's in the vaults, and it'll come out. It's just that we were in an enviable position because here we were with an album that we think is so good, it didn't need another track. Another track wouldn't have added anything to it. Maybe in some ways it would have just made it too big. So when it came time to mix, we listened and said, let's put this one on the shelf for now, and we will get back to it. And you'll hear it. It's a great tune.
Cool. Okay.
You know your homework, though. That's for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to take another break here on this special edition of Headbangers Ball with Kiss, and then after that, guess what? I'll be back with more Kiss. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome back to Headbangers Ball. We're still kissing with Gene, Eric, Paul, and Bruce, and we're going to talk a little bit now about the lyrics on Revenge. Now, they deal in the main with sex. And
well, partially.
I was just wondering,
partially.
Well, we'll talk about the other ones in a moment, but I just wondered, have you found new ways of dealing with a tried and tested subject?
Well, if you're creative, you can find new ways. I think if you care, you'll find new ways to defy gravity.
That's a good answer. There's also a very romantic ballad on the album, Every Time I Look at You, which was written by Paul and Bob Ezrin. Now that seems to me as showing a very romantic approach. Was that like a more personal song for you?
Well, when you get them with the ballad, then you get them in bed. Give them that and they go, oh, and then you get the other things going. It's nice to be able to write a ballad as long as the ballad isn't one of those mushy, wimpy, funeral dirge-like power pop ballads that some bands do. Some bands, who will remain nameless, take these like up-tempo songs about screwing in the back of the car and they slow it down to half-tempo and then sing about a girl who just left them. And it's sappy stuff. I mean, Every Time I Look at You is a song that was written on an acoustic guitar. It's much closer, I think, to something like Wild Horses, like a Stones kind of thing, than it is to some of that pap that you hear passed off as ballads. I mean, anything can be a ballad now. I'd rather hear ballads like As Tears Go By, the Stones kind of stuff, or Zeppelin ballads. That's a little cooler than that mush that you hear sometimes.
Now, Gene, there was a couple of songs on the album that I felt had a kind of religious imagery, unholy
But,
and
you know,
thou shalt not.
Oh boy.
They're obviously from two very different perspectives. What was your inspiration for those songs?
Archbishop Simmons.
Archbunker Simmons.
Every couple of years, you know, there's got to be a church enemies list. Every couple of years they put me on top. When we first started touring, I was just some kid out of New York City, was glad to be on stage wearing makeup and doing crazy things. And all of a sudden we played Canada, and there's a newspaper that came out that said, Gene Simmons is the devil. Going, oh great, just what I need. And so then all of a sudden in the South of America, people started walking around with big burning crosses and pointing to me. And I'd say,
it only
it's
was
not
Gene.
me.
It wasn't Kiss.
It wasn't.
It had nothing to do with the whole
nothing
band.
to do. No.
It wasn't. They weren't doing this about Kiss. It was all.
It was all.
Yeah.
It was all.
Archbishop Simmons.
So I'm here to tell you that some of these songs are not necessarily religious. They're just trying to point out some points. Unholy makes the point that guys with horns on their heads and devils and all that stuff, I don't believe in that crap. The truth is that the things that we do to each other in the name of love are far worse than any devil, than any hell that anybody could create. Absolutely. There's a line in the song that says, you send your children to war to serve bastards and whores. There's no worse hell than that. So unholy is really just a part of all of us. And Thou Shalt Not, this other song you're talking about, it's just basically
Island of Lost Souls.
Island of Lost Souls. Thank you. Paul Stanley, Charles Lawton.
Thou shalt
not.
Flesh.
Flesh.
Thou shalt not eat flesh, for are we not men?
Are we not men?
You see, if you rent that movie, those are the lines from the movie. What is the law? Charles Lawton.
The law is we shall not eat flesh, we shall not drink blood, for are we not men?
Are we not men?
So anyway, Thou Shalt Not, it's explained very simply by a man with a collar walks over and says, kindly reconsider the sins of your past. I said, mister, you can kindly kiss my ass. It's a nice way of saying, leave me alone, let me live my life the way I want to.
Cool. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Yes. We're going to talk some more, but right now we're going to see some more music from Kiss. Kiss are still with me on Headbangers Ball. I hope you're enjoying the interview. I certainly am. I'm learning an awful lot about Kiss. And we're going to come right up to date now with the UK tour. How's that been going for you? How does it feel to be back?
It's been magic. It's been great. You know, I think there was a period of time where we were caught in this dilemma of coming over here, and fans were saying, well, we know you can't bring a show, but come anyway. You know, we just want to see you. And that's okay until you get here, and then all of a sudden, you know, rightfully so, people go, well, it's okay, but where's the show? So I think we reached a point where we realized if we can't come over here and do what people expect from us, we shouldn't come over anymore. And we've been here a few times where I think people were disappointed, and rightfully so, but we were, you know, we didn't know whether we should come over or not come over. I think this show kind of shows what we're doing at this point, and it's all uphill from here. I mean, it only gets better, and we're real proud of what we're doing, and I think the fans are too.
You know, for us it's worth saying this. We're not trying to kiss your butt or anything, but the truth is when we were growing up, England was our inspiration. There are a lot of bands that keep talking about how Kiss changed their life. That's all well and good. Thank you. But
this is the motherland for us. This is where it all started.
When we grew up, from the Beatles on.
I mean, you may talk about, God bless Muddy Waters and Willie Dixon and you know, Lightning Hopkins and everybody, but I'll tell you the truth, for us, it didn't start there. First we got into Zeppelin and Jeff Beck, Humble Pie. Right. That's the stuff we're still listening to. And then we found our way back from there and then forward. But I mean, in America too, when we first came out, people thought of us as, they thought we were from England, you know, and we were proud of it because we never wanted to be like the Jefferson Airplane or those, you know,
slobs.
Those slobs. I mean, that's not what we're about.
And for the European viewers, could you tell us a little bit about the staging and production that you're using on this tour?
People should, this is probably a little vague for some people. The stage that the British fans saw here in England was the last American tour, the 40-foot high Sphinx that we came out of the mouth. Leon, we call him, Leon Sphinx. The eyes shoot out lasers and bombs and stuff. It's just a massive show. But there's a brand new show being built in America right now, which we're going to start touring with August 31st. And that's going to be a worldwide tour, and we're coming back. We're going to bring that sucker right here.
Yeah, we're doing all of Europe with that one.
That's what I wanted to know.
And, I mean, we were so fired up after doing this, you know, bunch of dates here that we said, in 8 months we should have some time after doing America and doing the Orient, and we said let's come back again, you know, and let's make up for some lost time. And this is just a taste of things to come. You know, this tour is just the beginning. What we come back with is going to blow everybody away.
Okay, well there you go. You heard it on Headbangers Ball. Kiss are coming back to Europe and the whole continent, and we will run the tour dates as soon as they're available, so watch out for those. Very quickly, what sort of set are you playing on this tour? Is it are you bringing out some really old stuff?
Yeah.
You mean the music on this tour?
Yeah.
Yes, the music.
Yeah.
Parasite, 100,000 Years.
Firehouse.
Some stuff, Firehouse. Stuff we haven't played in 15 years.
We're doing about 23 songs, and when we do the next tour, we're hoping to do about 30 songs.
Wow.
So, you know, some bands get into playing medleys and things like that once you have, you know, the songs to choose from. We're just going to play everything. I mean, there's probably going to be an acoustic, you know, some acoustic songs. There's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a real night to remember.
Great. Okay. Well, we're going to talk some more a little later on, and the next time we meet up, I'm going to be asking you some questions sent in by viewers. Okay. But for now, we are going to see some more music here on this special edition of Headbangers Ball with Kiss. Hi, welcome back to this special Kiss-tastic edition of the Headbangers Ball, and Kiss are back with me. We've got a little bit more time to talk, and we've got some viewers' questions sent in by you. And the first question comes from Vanessa Warwick of London. That's me, I'm a viewer as well. I've got something I've always wanted to ask you, and that is, you must have, when you had your makeup on, it must have been like a real ritual to put it on. And what I've always wanted to ask you is, how did you kind of replace that as a means of like psyching yourselves up for a show?
The ritual is the same. We still dance around the fire and walk on the hot coals and chant in many tongues. And then we go out. We just don't put the makeup on. But we do the usual thing. We grease the pig and chase it around the room.
And then I get to slit its throat.
Yeah.
But seriously, was it like almost like a tribal thing?
Yeah, but it's no different now.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're a warrior and you're putting on, you know, you get together in the dressing room, you chat for a little while and you psych yourself up.
That's the pig running around the room, that sound you hear.
And then you go out and you do it, you know. I mean, it's the calm before the storm.
Okay. Now, actually, first proper viewer's question. I'm just looking down here. Excuse me. Comes from Morten Olsen of Norway. Hi, Morten. He wanted to know the Unholy single and video is the first with Gene on lead vocals since I Love It Loud from 1982. He wants to know, why did it take you so long to come back on lead vocals?
Because I've been writing horrendous songs for 10 years. That's why. And Paul Stanley's been good enough to be there. And he was never square, where I was off in Disneyland. I was off making horrible movies and running record companies when I should have been in Kiss.
He's made a few good movies.
A few good movies, pardon me. And
not the one with the girdle and the woman's clothes on.
No, or the girdle that's
I
on
really
the
liked Red Surfing USA though.
That's not the one. See that? That's the crap I get. And to answer your question, the reason the songs haven't been as good as they should have been is maybe I wasn't all there. And all I can say is I'm sorry. I didn't know I was lost.
But I'm found. I'm born again.
He's back and there's more of them.
I'm going to throw up on your sister.
The next question comes from Jonas Carlson from Sweden. Maybe direct this one to Bruce. What is your best and worst memory from all your tours throughout the year?
Best and worst. Well, the best was joining the band, you know, just the first time on stage, even though it was an amazing situation. All of a sudden, we were in full gear, running around, playing. And a couple of spot gigs like Madison Square Garden, where I always wanted to play the Garden, where I saw Hendrix and Jimmy Page. And I guess, you know, obviously the worst experience was the Eric thing, but we don't need to bring that up again. That was obviously, you know, a friend like that, something like that to happen. But this band's it's been a lot of fun. It's been 8 years of loud amps, and I'm real proud of where we are right now.
And also, Jonas wants to know, how do you guys relax when you're not on tour or in the studio?
Prostate massages.
He took my cue. Everybody,
tell them what you love to brag.
Everybody's got different sort of hobbies. One of them is making sure there's always a pretty girl by your side.
Thank you.
And
helping you walk.
Helping me walk. Everybody's different. We may stick together like glue when we're at Kiss, but you know, when we're outside, everybody's got different interests. Mm-hmm. I like cookies, and a lot of them, and my
cookies
son.
and muffins.
Right.
And I love muffins. And I guess the most important thing for me right now in my life is my little young god who walks around.
Yes!
My son Nicholas, who's my life.
Has fatherhood changed you?
It makes you think of somebody. Yeah, it changes you, I think, in a good way. It makes you realize that there's somebody else in the world besides just you. Mm-hmm. It makes you a little bit less selfish. But if anything, it's made me just a bigger son of a bitch than I already am. But otherwise, I think of him morning, noon, and night.
Lovely. That's nice to know. Very quickly, loads of people wrote in, when might you come back with Kiss Alive 3?
It's so difficult for us to, because when you've scaled a mountain twice, you know, and Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, I think to us and to many people are really important kind of like monuments to live rock and roll and to the band. We want Alive 3 to be everything that it can be. And at the same time, we're always trying to figure, well, how do we make it special? Just to go in and record some more live tracks isn't enough. We're just waiting to see where things go, but of course there'll be an Alive 3. I think we're not ready to do it yet, to be honest with you. It means so much to us that we have to make sure it's right, and I think we have at least another studio album in us before we start thinking of it.
But what we are doing right now is we're finishing up... Quiet, Spike! What we are doing right now is...
Carry on.
But what we are doing right now is preparing Exposed 2. Some of the footage is being shot on this European tour right now.
And that should be out in a few months. Actually, as it's looking now, there's going to be Exposed 2, Parts 1 and 2. There's so much great footage that it's actually going to be 2 separate videos that you can go pick up, and both of them are going to have really some amazing stuff. I mean, way back to the beginning, plus some other people involved, and it's going to be a real chronological history of the band, so we look forward to that.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. You've got to go back and finish your video. And
if we don't get a chance to see you before next time, we love you, and we really had a good time in your country. Thank you for treating us well.
Thank you. And I want to say a very big thank you to all of you for joining me on Headbangers Ball. It's been a very great pleasure meeting you and talking to you, and I want to wish you the best of luck with all your future activities.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay then. That's it for this special edition of Headbangers Ball with Kiss, and next week I will be back in the studio with a load more metal overload, and I hope you'll join me there. And it's goodbye from all of us.